I never intended to become a magnet for darkness. But when you're a crime reporter in a sleepy town like Millfield, darkness tends to find you. It was a frigid autumn evening, leaves rustling like whispers on cold pavement, when I first received the email. The sender identified himself only as Deep Shade. His message was short, precise, and chillingly accurate, detailing the unsolved disappearance of Sarah Mitchell, a local waitress who'd vanished without a trace. What drew my attention wasn't the case itself. It was the details, things the police had kept tightly sealed. I felt a chill as I stared at the glowing screen, the hum of my laptop eerily loud in the quiet room. Who was Deep Shade? How did he know so much? Over the next few weeks, his tips arrived regularly, always after midnight, always perfectly accurate. Each email felt like icy fingers tracing my spine. Soon, the investigation consumed my every waking moment. Dark circles rimmed my eyes as I pored over police reports and crime scene photos in my cluttered apartment, lit only by the dim, flickering bulb. But the more I learned, the less I trusted. Something wasn't right. The police seemed to know little, and their efforts were sluggish at best. Detective Marcus Jennings, a seasoned officer known for his stern, emotionless demeanor, led the investigation. I'd worked with Jennings before. Stern, quiet, eyes always searching. He was respected in Millfield, but always felt distant, detached somehow. One night, unable to shake the feeling of dread, I drove to the Mitchell house, now empty and cordoned off by police tape. The old Victorian creaked in protest against the wind, shutters slapping rhythmically, creating a hollow echo. My flashlight beam cut through dust particles floating like ghosts in the air. In Sarah's room, pictures of happier times were still pinned to the wall. My breath caught as I spotted something beneath her bed. A small notebook filled with hurried, frightened writing. He's watching. He's always watching. Badge or no badge, he sees everything. My pulse quickened. Badge. Could Sarah have been hinting at a police officer? Could Deep Shade be someone inside the department? The idea twisted my stomach. The next email from Deep Shade was different. He insisted we meet face to face. I agreed reluctantly, heart pounding in my ears as I drove to the abandoned mill on the outskirts of town. The skeletal remains of the building stood stark against the black sky. Windows like empty eye sockets, staring blindly into darkness. The wind whispered through rusted metal beams as I stepped carefully over shattered glass. Hello? I called, voice trembling. My only response was my own echo, distorted and hollow. Suddenly, footsteps scraped against concrete behind me. I spun around sharply, heart leaping to my throat. A dark silhouette stepped forward. Jennings? I whispered, shocked. His cold, expressionless face emerged into the moonlight. You shouldn't have come, he said quietly, voice devoid of emotion. Are you Deep Shade? I asked, backing away slowly. Panic rose, a bitter taste filling my mouth. He hesitated. Not exactly. He reached into his coat, pulling out a small recorder. Listen, he murmured softly, pressing play. Static crackled, followed by a voice. Low, sinister, yet disturbingly familiar. She knows too much. She's close now. It's time we show her what happens to curious journalists. My knees weakened. That voice belonged to Jennings. Yet it wasn't him. It was colder, crueler, almost predatory. That's not possible, I gasped. That's you. Jennings shook his head slowly, eyes filled with genuine fear. Not me. Him. Suddenly, Jennings' entire demeanor changed. He stiffened, eyes losing their light, replaced by a hollow stare. His voice dropped into that familiar, chilling tone I'd heard moments before. Hello, Lisa, he said softly, grinning sinisterly. You've been so helpful. I stumbled backward, breath hitching painfully. Jennings? Marcus isn't here anymore, he purred, stepping closer, boots crunching loudly on broken glass, and the shadow Marcus tried so desperately to hide. He lunged, fingers clawing at my jacket. I screamed, thrashing free and bolting toward the exit. My breath burned in my throat as I sprinted into the darkness outside. Footsteps echoed behind me, fast and relentless. Branches clawed at my face as I tore through the woods, my pulse roaring louder than the harsh breathing at my heels. Twigs snapped sharply underfoot. Finally, I stumbled onto the main road, spinning desperately to flag down headlights emerging from the darkness. Tires screeched as the car stopped abruptly. Shaking violently, I pounded on the window. The driver, a young man, rolled it down cautiously. "Are you all right?" I glanced back. No one followed. My heart raced wildly, my voice barely a whisper. "Take me to the police station." Inside Millfield PD, officers listened skeptically as I recounted the night's events. My voice trembled as I described Jennings' transformation, the threats, the voice on the recorder. Their glances exchanged quietly dismissed my claims. "Jennings is here," an officer eventually said, raising an eyebrow. "Been working late? See for yourself?" They escorted me through fluorescent-lit corridors to a back office. Jennings sat calmly behind his desk, neatly filing paperwork. He looked up, eyes gentle and calm. "You all right, Lisa?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. I stumbled backward. "No, that's impossible. I saw you." Jennings tilted his head, a perfect picture of confusion. "Lisa, I have been here all night." My mind raced, searching for answers as whispers spread among officers. Had it been a hallucination? A nightmare brought on by stress? But as Jennings smiled reassuringly, he leaned in close, voice dropping to a whisper. Only I could hear. "We'll talk again soon, Lisa." Deep shade isn't finished. Chills flooded my veins as my knees threatened to collapse. His eyes flickered for just a second, darkening, turning cold, then returning instantly to normal. Weeks passed, but I couldn't shake the encounter. Police dismissed my claims, labeling me paranoid. Jennings remained unscathed, revered by his colleagues. Yet, every now and then, an email from Deep Shade would arrive. "Miss me." The disappearances continued quietly, unnoticed by everyone but me. Millfield resumed its peaceful facade, ignoring the shadows lurking beneath. And as I sit in my apartment, blinds drawn tight, a pistol hidden beneath my pillow, I know the truth. Jennings, or whoever lives inside him, is still watching. Sometimes, late at night, when sleep evades me, the floorboards creak just outside my bedroom door. Heavy breathing whispers through the darkness, footsteps shuffling closer, then stopping abruptly. Waiting, I lie there, paralyzed, breath frozen, knowing that one night soon, the door will slowly creak open, and Marcus Jennings, no, Deep Shade, will step inside. In the quiet town of Cedar Bend, Minnesota, there's a stretch of woods locals called the Forgetting Place. Hikers swear the trees there bleed sap that smells like burnt hair. And if you listen too long to the wind, you'll hear voices. Voices that sound exactly like your own. But the real horror isn't in the woods. It's in the mind of Daniel Greer, a man who spent years running from gaps in his memory, and the things he finds waiting in them. Daniel woke with his hands raw and stinging, dirt caked under his nails. The bathroom mirror showed a scratch down his cheek, thin as a spider's thread. He told himself he'd sleepwalked again, knocked over the rose bushes, but the roses were pristine, and the mud on his boots wasn't from his yard. It was black, reeking of bog water, the kind that pooled near the Forgetting Place. That night he heard the whispers. They started as static from his old TV, warping into words. "You let us out again," a voice hissed, layered and wet, like multiple throats speaking through one. Daniel unplugged the TV. The whispers slid into the walls, following him room to room. No return address. Just 3 photos, curled at the edges. The first showed a woman's face, eyes wide and milky, her mouth stuffed with wilted dandelions. The second, a child's sneaker, laces tied in a bow, resting on a pile of wet leaves. The third was a selfie. Him. Daniel stood in the woods, grinning too wide. His pupils shrunk to pinpricks. Behind him, something pale hung from a tree, a shape too long to be human. On the back, scrawled in charcoal, "Don't you remember? Stress-induced blackouts," Dr. Foss said, tapping her pen. "Common in trauma survivors." But Daniel's childhood was ordinary, boring even, except for the nightmares he'd had since he was 8. Visions of a faceless man dragging him into a lake, whispering, "You'll forget me like the others." That night, he sleepwalked again. He woke in his garage, a shovel in his hands. The concrete floor gleamed wetly. When he lifted the shovel, clumps of black hair clung to the blade. A gold necklace lay in the muck, its pendant engraved. Mara, the name rang a bell, a waitress at the diner. She'd gone missing last week. Daniel scrubbed the garage until his knuckles bled. But the whispers grew louder, now accompanied by knocks. 3 rapid taps on every window, synchronized. "Let us in, let us in, let us in, let us in." He found the hole in his backyard at 3 a.m., drawn by the sound of flies. The earth there was freshly turned. He dug, nails splitting, until a shovel hit bone. A rib cage, too small. A child's. His hands moved on their own, arranging the bones in a circle. A memory flickered. Himself as a boy, kneeling in these woods, digging a hole while something watched from the trees. "It's just a game," the faceless man had said. "It's shatters. No one will believe you anyway." Mrs. Peeler peered over the fence as Daniel scrubbed mud from his tires. "You've been out late," she said, her voice sharp. "Heard your truck leave around midnight." Again, her Yorkshire Terrier growled at him, hackles raised. That dog vanished the next day. Daniel found its collar in his mailbox. The tags melted as if by acid. The whispers crowed, "She knows, she knows, she knows, she knows." When he looked up, Mrs. Peeler stood at her window, staring. Her eyes were gone, just hollows oozing thick yellow fluid. A cold draft wafted up, smelling of copper and wet soil. The walls were clawed to splinters, deep gouges spelling words. Liar, coward, murderer. At the bottom, a shrine. Dozens of Polaroids pinned to a clothesline. Missing people from Cedar Bend, dating back decades. Their mouths sewn shut with fishing line. Their eyes replaced with black stones. And at the center, a cracked mirror. Daniel approached, trembling. The reflection wasn't his. A gaunt figure loomed behind him, its face a shifting void. His face a shifting void. "There you are," it rasped, its voice the crunch of dead leaves. "I've been waiting." Memories he'd buried. The faceless man wasn't a nightmare. He was real. A drifter who'd lived in these woods when Daniel was a boy. "You let me in," the man had whispered, pressing a knife to Daniel's palm. "Now we're friends forever." Blood dripped into the soil. The ground shivered. Every blackout, every missing person, every crime scene photo. It wasn't Daniel. It was them. The thing in the mirror. The thing he'd invited. Police lights flashed through the trees. They'd found Mrs. Peeler's body in the bog. Her fingers chewed to nubs. Daniel ran, the whispers now a roar inside his skull. "I will roar inside his skull." "You'll forget again." The void thing hissed. "You always do." But Daniel remembered. He stopped at the edge of the lake, where the faceless man had first appeared. The water bubbled, birthing skeletal hands that clawed at the shore. "Take me back," Daniel begged. "Undo it." The thing laughed. "Too late. We're having too much fun." Daniel plunged the knife. When had he grabbed it? Into his own throat. The town declared Daniel a serial killer. His suicide a confession. Case closed. But hikers still vanish near Cedar Bend. Their belongings turn up in the forgetting place. Phones looping audio of labored breathing. Journals filled with the same phrase. He's sorry, but he can't stop. And in the Greer family home, now abandoned, the basement mirror remains unbroken. On foggy nights, neighbors swear they see two figures in its reflection. A man with a hollow face, and Daniel screaming silently, trapped behind the glass. The whispers. They've moved to the woods. If you listen closely, they sound just like you. They say the most terrifying monsters are the ones hiding inside us, whispering from places we dare not look. For me, these whispers had become a relentless chorus, each voice fighting for control. I'd lived with dissociative identity disorder for as long as I could remember. My mind a house filled with strangers, each with their own motives. Little did I know, meeting someone like myself would unlock horrors I couldn't even fathom. I met Jason at a support group downtown. It was a cramped, dimly lit room with peeling wallpaper and chairs that creaked with every slight movement. The air smelled faintly sour, a mixture of stale coffee and lingering cigarette smoke. Jason sat quietly at the far end, his eyes dark and hollow, his presence magnetic and unsettling. We connected instantly, drawn together by shared experiences. Over the following weeks, our friendship grew. We shared stories of blackouts, lost memories, and mysterious injuries. Together, we felt less alone in the darkness that consumed our lives. But slowly, I sensed something off in Jason. A subtle shift in his demeanor, sudden lapses into cold silences punctuated by cryptic smiles. Then came the nightmares. Every night, my dreams were invaded by sinister visions, distorted faces, laughter echoing from unseen corners, whispers that seeped through the walls, always repeating the same chilling phrase, "They're almost ready." I woke up each morning gasping for breath, drenched in sweat, my heart hammering. Bruises appeared on my arms, deep purple imprints of fingers whose origins I couldn't recall. One evening, Jason visited my apartment. The rain hammered against my window, droplets racing downward like frantic tears. A distant roll of thunder rattled through the walls. Jason seemed unusually quiet, his gaze darting toward shadows that danced under the dim lamplight. "Have you noticed things changing lately?" he finally whispered, eyes fixed on the floor. His voice trembled slightly. "Changing in how?" I asked, unease prickling my skin. "Like gaps in time," he murmured, his voice barely audible. "Places you don't remember visiting." A chill crawled down my spine. "Yes," I admitted reluctantly, the words catching in my throat. He stared directly into my eyes, suddenly fierce. "I think our alters are communicating." Before I could respond, the lights flickered violently. A deafening static filled the room, like a distorted radio station desperately trying to tune in. For a brief moment, I saw our reflections in the window. Two unfamiliar faces grinning maliciously back at us, eyes cold and knowing. Then darkness enveloped us entirely. When the lights returned, Jason was gone. I stood shaking, staring at the empty spot where he'd been seconds earlier. My phone buzzed, the screen illuminating a message. "Check the basement. We left something for you." My stomach churned, fear gripping me like icy claws. Slowly, I made my way down the narrow staircase to the building's storage basement. The bulb above swung gently, casting shadows that danced across walls covered in peeling paint. A putrid stench of decay seeped into my nostrils, making me gag. At the far corner sat an old freezer. My pulse quickened. A trail of dark liquid pooled beneath it, spreading slowly like ink on paper. Trembling, I lifted the lid. Inside lay a severed hand, pale and lifeless, fingers curled as if desperately grasping for something. Beside it, a note scrawled hastily, "For you, from us." I stumbled backward, nausea overwhelming me. My vision blurred, Flashes of memory tearing through my mind. Glimpses of Jason's altar, dark-eyed, smirking cruelly, standing next to my own reflection, their voices blending into one horrific laughter. I called Jason, hands trembling uncontrollably. His voice was panicked when he answered. "What's going on?" I woke up covered in blood. "God, there's blood everywhere," he gasped, sobbing uncontrollably. "Meet me now," I whispered urgently. We met in an abandoned church at the edge of town. Its steeple twisted against a stormy sky. The wind howled mournfully through shattered stained glass windows. Candles flickered weakly, casting grotesque shadows that crawled across cracked walls. "They're working together," Jason whispered, eyes wide with horror. "Our darkest sides. They're killing people." The realization crashed over me, suffocatingly heavy. The murders reported on the news, missing people plastered across milk cartons. Our altars had been orchestrating it all, right beneath our consciousness. Before we could say more, the church doors slammed shut, shaking the building violently. The candles extinguished simultaneously, plunging us into pitch-black silence. A low, guttural laugh echoed through the dark, reverberating off the walls, resonating deep inside my bone. "You two figured it out." My own voice mocked cruelly from the darkness. "You've made it so easy," Jason's altar sneered in reply. Suddenly, excruciating pain shot through my skull, splitting my consciousness apart. I fought desperately, but they were too strong, clawing from inside, seizing control. Beside me, Jason screamed, collapsing to his knees. In the dim moonlight seeping through the broken windows, I saw our altar standing calmly, smiles twisted into hideous grins. They exchanged a nod before turning toward us. "You won't remember this," mine whispered, kneeling close, breath ice cold against my ear. "But know that you'll always be our puppets." With one last wave of agonizing pain, I blacked out. I woke alone in my apartment, sunlight filtering weakly through the curtains. My head throbbed. On the news, a reporter announced another disappearance, another innocent victim lost to darkness. Nausea churned my stomach as the anchor continued. Police have no leads, but believe two suspects are working together. Citizens are advised to remain vigilant. My phone buzzed once more. With trembling fingers, I opened the message. "Don't worry, friend. We'll take care of everything." I threw the phone across the room, shattering it against the wall. Tears streamed down my face as the horrifying truth sank in. Jason and I were prisoners inside our own minds, forced witnesses to atrocities we couldn't control. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. Jason vanished, leaving behind only a cryptic note. "Run, hide, they never sleep." Now I sit here barricaded in my apartment, jumping at every creak, every whisper in the walls. Each mirror shows reflections I no longer recognize, eyes staring back at me with dark amusement. Shadows move just beyond my vision, whispers taunt from corners I dare not explore. I know they'll return soon, our other selves, pulling me back into a nightmare I cannot escape. They're always waiting, lurking patiently within, ready to take control, ready to use us again. Because the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones under our beds or hidden in dark alleys. They're the ones inside our own minds. In the fog-cloaked town of Hollow's End, Maine, there's a cold case that never closes. 7 victims in 7 years, each found with their left hand severed and replaced with a vintage music box. The boxes play a lullaby locals call the Cradle's Cry, a melody that, if heard too many times, is said to make you forget your own face. But the real terror began when Detective Maravos started receiving letters from someone who knew the killer's rituals before the bodies were found. The first letter arrived in a coffin-shaped envelope. Inside was a Polaroid of a pine forest. The words, "He's hungry again," scrawled in what forensics later confirmed was human bile. Mara recognized the location, Blackwater Ridge, where her sister Lily vanished a decade ago. The music box left at that scene had played the same lullaby. That night, Mara's office phone rang. Static hissed, then a child's voice whispered, "Check the hollow tree." The line went dead. Outside, something scraped against her window. Long, slow drags, like claws on glass. Blackwater Ridge reeked of decay. The hollow tree was a massive oak, its trunk split open like a wound. Inside, Mara found a VHS tape labeled Lily. The footage showed her sister at age 14, tied to a chair, humming the cradle's cry. A figure stepped into frame, face blurred by static. "You'll forget me," he said, voice digitally warped. "But I'll always remember you." The tape ended with a close-up of Lily's left hand. A music box wound where her wrist should be. The informant called themselves Wren. Letters arrived weekly, written in code. Crossword puzzles with clues like "Where the Drowned Girls Sing" or "Third Grave from the Willow." Each led Mara to a victim, a drowned woman in Miller's Pond. Her hand replaced with a music box, tuned to a sobbing pitch. A construction worker buried beneath a high school football field. His fingers curled around a lullaby's sheet music, but Wren's handwriting kept changing. One note was penned in elegant cursive, another in jagged block letters. The lab found traces of different DNA under the stamps. Male, female, even a child's. The breaking point came at Mara's apartment. She woke to the sound of ticking. Beneath her bed, a music box played the cradle's cry. Its gears were clogged with fingernails. A note taped to it read, "You're getting warmer, detective. P.S. Check your shower." The shower curtain hung heavy, damp. Behind it, written in steam on the mirror, "He's watching." Mara's reflection flickered. For a heartbeat, a gaunt man stood behind her, his face a mosaic of shifting features. Interrogating suspects led nowhere. A paranoid school teacher, a reclusive taxidermist, a mute teenager. All alibis solid, all fingerprints mismatched. Then a breakthrough, the cold case file. Lily's original case number was scribbled in the margins of Wren's latest letter. But when Mara pulled the file, she found a photo she'd never seen before. Lily, alive, holding a music box. On the back, her sister's handwriting. "Mara, run. He's in your head now." The final letter was delivered by a stray dog. Its color bore a USB drive. The video showed Wren, or rather, Wren's, a man with a chameleon face, his features melting and reforming as he spoke. "You thought I was helping you find him." He laughed, voice cycling through octaves. "I was just keeping you fed." Behind him, a wall of music boxes throbbed like a heartbeat. The confrontation happened at the old orphanage. Wren's hideout stank of copper and rosewater. Music boxes covered every surface, their combined lullaby a deafening wail. Mara aimed her gun at the figure in the corner, a man in a tattered suit, his face blurred like the VHS tape. "Hello, detective," he said, his mouth not moving. The voice came from a music box at his feet. "Lily said you'd come." His face shifted. Young, old, male, female. Lily's face flickered for a heartbeat. Mara fired. The bullet tore through his shoulder. He collapsed, laughing, as the music boxes reached a crescendo. "You still don't see?" He wheezed, blood bubbling on his lips. "Wren isn't a person. It's a hive." He grabbed her wrist. His touch felt like 7 hands at once. Mara quit the force. The official report called Wren a delusion, a trauma-born fantasy. But the music boxes followed her. They arrive in unmarked packages, each containing a finger bone and a note. "Thanks for playing. Hollow's End's killing stopped." But in neighboring towns, new detectives receive cryptic letters. The handwriting keeps changing, and in Mara's dreams, she's back at the orphanage. The music boxes open. Dozens of hands crawl out, skittering toward her. They all wear her face. The last thing she hears is the lullaby. It sounds like her sister's voice. It was late October, and leaves crackled beneath my feet as I walked up the front steps of the quiet house nestled on a tree-lined street in upstate New York. A chill wind blew softly, rustling dry branches, whispering warnings I chose to ignore. Inside, a woman named Sarah Evans waited, ready to share a story that, unknown to me, would soon become my own waking nightmare. Sarah was a survivor, or at least, that's how she described herself when she'd reached out to me at the magazine. Her case was compelling. Abducted, tortured, yet miraculously alive, she'd managed to escape her captor after nearly a month of hellish captivity. She told the police she'd been held in a hidden basement, tortured psychologically by a man whose face she never clearly saw, whose voice changed frequently, sometimes a calm whisper, sometimes an animalistic growl. The case had all the trappings of a chilling true crime expose. But when the police failed to make progress, Sarah decided to tell her story publicly, hoping to warn others and perhaps find answers through media attention. And that's how I found myself sitting across from her, in her dimly lit living room, recorder in hand. Sarah's voice was soft and trembling. "I don't sleep," she whispered, eyes distant. "Every shadow reminds me of him. Every sound brings me back to that room." "What do you remember about him?" I asked gently, watching as she fidgeted nervously, her fingers digging into her thighs. Her eyes flicked toward me, dark and haunted. It wasn't just one person. At least, it didn't feel that way. My pen hesitated above my notepad. "What do you mean?" She took a shaky breath. "He had personalities. Multiple. Sometimes he spoke kindly, caring for my wounds, apologizing. Other times he'd rage, scream in my face, threaten to kill me. And once," she stopped abruptly, her lips trembling. Once, he called himself Amanda. He spoke in a woman's voice, high and mocking. Told me things only a woman would know. Come on! Told me things only a woman would know. A shiver crept down my spine. "Did you tell the police about these personalities?" Sarah nodded, eyes wide, panicked. "They didn't believe me. They thought it was trauma, hallucinations. But I swear, it's real." As Sarah spoke, I noticed a tiny detail that had eluded me until now. A faint scar, partially hidden beneath her sleeve. It wasn't fresh. It looked self-inflicted. She saw me looking, quickly pulling her sleeve down. "It's nothing." I hesitated. "Sarah, if you're hurting yourself." "I didn't," she snapped violently, her voice deepening unnaturally. For a moment, silence filled the room, the ticking of the clock suddenly deafening. I swallowed, uncertain. "Sorry. Let's continue later." But that night, sleep eluded me. I replayed Sarah's words, haunted by her description of shifting voices. Something about it felt familiar. So I began digging through old case files online, combing through newspaper clippings, searching for anything resembling her captor's methods. And then, a photo appeared, grainy but unmistakable. A younger Sarah, her hair lighter, wearing a different name, Amanda Riggs. My heart dropped. Amanda Riggs was missing, presumed dead. A decade earlier, same town, same house. The victim had been the abductor all along. I felt a sinking horror, realizing the twisted reality. Sarah Evans wasn't Sarah at all. Her personalities were battling within her. One victim, one killer. My breath came in short, shallow gasps as the phone rang. Startling me. Caller ID showed Sarah's number. Hesitantly, I answered. Sarah, a slow, cruel laugh, unlike anything I'd heard before, crackled through the phone. "Sarah's asleep," said a voice. Amanda's voice, high-pitched, sinister. "She doesn't know I exist. She doesn't know what we've done." I dropped the phone, panic overtaking me. The line clicked dead, leaving a suffocating silence. Then, a sudden, loud bang echoed from downstairs. My heart pounded. I crept to the staircase, the steps creaking beneath me. My breathing echoed loudly in the silent house. The downstairs hallway stretched dark and endless. Shadows played tricks, forming twisted shapes against the walls. Footsteps whispered across hardwood floors. My blood turned to ice. A shadow moved near the front door, and a soft female voice began humming, a haunting lullaby. "Come out," Amanda whispered sweetly, almost playfully. "I just want to talk." Terror gripped my throat as I fumbled back up the stairs, locking my bedroom door behind me. My phone buzzed, an incoming text. "You're next to understand our pain." Glass shattered downstairs. Amanda was inside, moving closer. I dialed 911, but my phone went dark. Battery drained impossibly fast. Frantically, I hid in the closet, heart thundering in my chest. The bedroom door creaked open, slow and deliberate. Footsteps stopped inches away, and a cold voice whispered softly, "I know you're here." Then a violent crash shattered the silence as police sirens wailed outside, lights slicing through darkness. Shouts erupted downstairs. Amanda screamed. A gut-wrenching cry filled with rage and despair. When the chaos settled, police found me trembling in the closet. Amanda, Zara, was arrested, her eyes empty, confused, claiming innocence even as bloody fingerprints linked her conclusively to multiple disappearances. At the trial, psychiatrists testified to Sarah's shattered psyche, Amanda's alternate personality, fueled by trauma and rage, had kidnapped, tortured, and killed multiple victims. Sarah remained convinced of her innocence, imprisoned within her own fractured mind, unaware of the monster she harbored inside. Months later, I received a letter from the prison, a single sentence written in delicate handwriting. Unlike Sarah's usual scrawl, "I'm still here, inside her, and I'm waiting for you." Every night since, I lie awake, haunted by Amanda's whispers. Sometimes I swear I see her reflection behind mine in the mirror, smiling coldly, waiting patiently to take me into the other side of her.